child, this being, this existence is in fact ready to be on a podcast from birth. And that's how I knew. So
Well,
when I say I was born ready, that's not false advertising for the
no,
record.
it's not. I have beautiful, gorgeous, luscious news for you, Russell, my friend.
Oh, is it that my cat is adorable and sleeping here on the ground next to me?
Of course, that is always
Oh.
true, but I have other amazing news for you. You
Is it
can be
that you've
seen.
won the lottery
No, that would be amazing. You can be seen and heard, though. You are
Ooh.
seen.
And heard?
Hey, I will say, I'm looking at your little camera here. Your
Mm-hmm.
little. You are off centered. Do you see that?
Well, I hold on.
It
I can
can't
fix
be
that.
that pleasant of an experience for our
I can,
viewers.
I can fix this.
Please
I
do.
can fix this.
You could move your seat over, you know?
No,
No?
I refuse to do that. Um,
You are a stubborn man.
I am a stubborn man.
Oh, there you are. Hello. Dead in the middle.
Yeah, crazy, right? Crazy
Yep.
how you can use this wonderful thing called NVIDIA Broadcast to auto frame
Ain't nobody
yourself.
using that.
Tons of people use it, Gavin. You might be the only person who doesn't use it.
That is way too complicated.
That's not too complicated. You literally just you type in google.com and you type into the search bar NVIDIA Broadcast
Mm
download,
hmm. Mm hmm.
and then you click on the link
Mm
from
hmm.
notashadywebsite.com and then install with administrator privileges, and then all of your data stolen, and then they give you NVIDIA Broadcast.
But I don't even have the NVIDIA chip that I need.
That is a you problem.
That is a me problem. And also an NVIDIA problem.
No,
For
it's just a you problem.
they are not getting my money.
Again, that's a you problem.
Are we getting started? Is that
We
what we're doing here?
Yeah, of course. We always started, Gavin.
Do you have the
What, the
sound ready?
music?
Yeah.
But have I, Gavin? I was not even gonna play the sound. I'll tell you
You
right
weren't.
now. No, I can play
Here,
any sound
here.
you
I
want.
got you.
What sound do you want? Hold on, I can play any number of sounds you want.
That
It's
one.
really good. Yeah, that's a good one. Here, hold on. Let me.
All right.
And that music means, of course, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the MLS Now podcast. My name's Russell. You can find me on social media at Mr. Danger Russ. You can find the podcast on social media at MLS Now Podcast. But most importantly, the man tapping his microphone very rudely, just going impatient to get back to the action. You can find him on social media at LionsBlog1. It's Gavin. Gavin, hello.
I'm in post Leagues Cup form, so I pressed the mute button on the stream, but not on the recording. And so I was like, oh, I can mess with my microphone. No one can hear me.
Wrong.
In
Incorrect.
fact, the majority of our audience could hear me.
I would go so far as to say every single person, and including the recording, which, by the way, Gavin, not editing that out.
Of course not. It's a part of the
that-
podcast at this point.
That stays in. That's going to make it through post. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah. Well, anyways, sorry. I'm here. I'm alive. I'm well. It is Monday night, coming back off of some hot MLS action and some even hotter Leagues Cup action. We've kind of got a dual episode. Should we play the Leagues Cup music too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Do you want me to do that as well? I mean,
Let's do it. Why not?
Yeah, like
I'll mess with my
music's gone,
microphone
right?
again.
Yeah, here. Go ahead. Right?
I will always be impressed by how ready you are. to drop that music in at the drop of a
That's
dime every time.
I don't need an excuse. I'll tell
You
you
are
right
a
now.
man prepared.
Yeah, don't need no reason why. Hey, I'll tell you what I do need a reason why though. I need a reason to be happy,
Oh,
Gavin.
is
Need
this
a
your
reason to be
13th
happy.
reason?
Yeah, 13 reasons why. Hey, my reason to be happy is that the nonsense is back, the nonsense that is Major League Soccer, and as we all know, it is nonsense. Week in, week out, ridiculous games, ridiculous officiating, some ridiculous plays, but never fails to live up to the hype. Gavin, it felt so good to see and hear your voice every single, well, not every single day, but most days during Leagues Cup. And yet, I treasure these times here on our weekly episodes.
That's very kind of you, Russell. It was definitely not every day. Some days I just couldn't bring myself to being that late to work every
I
day.
would, I would go so far as to say most days you couldn't bring yourself to be that late to work.
I think that's right. I think you're spot on.
Yeah,
I did it some days.
you did it some days,
That's all that
but
matters.
not on Sundays because you didn't have to work Sunday. But,
No, it's true.
but, Gavin, we have an enormous amount to talk about. So settle in for a 17-hour MLS Now podcast episode because that's the only way we can do justice to everything that has gone on
This
over the
weekend was
past.
insane.
Yeah, yeah, lot of things going on. But hey, I have a fun question for you, and I'm going to use this as a segue into the Leagues Cup discussion about Columbus, LAFC, and then as well for Philadelphia, Colorado. But in a previous season, the Columbus Crew shockingly transferred Lucas Zelarayan, seemingly out of nowhere. Transferred him out, brought in Diego Rossi. A lot of people said this is shocking, right? Stun. Some might have said that was too much tinkering, and Columbus went on though to do quite well. You might have noted, I believe they won some hardware that same year. My question to you though, when does that tinkering, you know, and I don't know if this is even tinkering, but when does that go too far? Because depending on how plugged in you are to what people who talk behind the scenes, and there's any number of individuals who they tell people news, and that news travels through the grapevine, right? And the appearing story, the narrative, the smoke signals, if you will, that I've been hearing, rumblings, murmurs of from various angles, is that apparently Lucho Acosta was being shopped around by Chris Albright during this summer window, which is interesting to me because, like, is that tinkering on the level of, well, we can move this key piece of the team, but maybe you bring in something to replace him and it changes the dynamic of your team? Or is that absolute lunacy and nonsense because that is the heart of your team and captain? And, at this point in the season when they don't know how to play without Lucho, why would you shop Lucho? So,
Yeah.
interested to hear your thoughts on that.
I love the Zelarayan comparison because it is similar, but I also think you're right that, or not that you're right, but I think that you
Well, I'm
are.
always right, Gavin.
Yes. You are. It feels like you're veering towards they're different. And I
Well,
think
they are.
the big difference between the rumored story of Acosta being shopped out in the past summer window, even though he's the hub of your team, the captain, everything you just explained, and Zelarayan, who is also the hub of the team, important player for Columbus, is Columbus had already identified and had worked behind the scenes on Diego Rossi. They already had Cucho, and they had Diego Rossi, who they planned it all really well. Now, maybe there was somebody lined up from Cincinnati side of things that the people talking behind the scenes don't know about. Maybe, maybe not. But
There's some context to it, but
Acosta is MVP caliber. Zelarayan, would you say he didn't win MVP, right? He was upper echelon good, but he wasn't best player in the league good. They had an upgrade opportunity there. And he was also, they found a buyer. It was just a perfect storm for Columbus, and they pulled the trigger at the right time. Right time, right price, right replacement. Everything was perfect. It doesn't feel like this is the right time. It doesn't feel like Cincinnati would have enough options in attack if you were to lose Acosta. And any sort of replacement, I mean, obviously, we don't know who any sort of replacement would be. They could be way better than Acosta, but I have no idea what those finger signals mean.
uh, again, word on the street, right? The rumor
hmm
was that it would have been tied in with a Weston McKennie move.
That's, you see, that's terrible. I forgot he was linked with you guys. That's terrible. He's not, they're not the same position.
It's not. You're
He's not going
correct.
to be that creative player for you guys. Yeah, sure, he'll
Also
score goals
correct.
in here and there. But if that is true, right? This is all rumors behind the scenes. That's just, that would have been a terrible move, and I'm glad you guys still have Acosta because that was the correct decision to keep him and not get rid of him.
I don't know if it was so much a decision, so much as Albright was unable to find a dance partner.
Well, that's even worse.
Yeah, I, as a side note, right, I have not been impressed with Albright the past several windows. I've not been super impressed with him because, signed Bupenza despite multiple red flags. We saw how that worked out with Cincinnati. Cincinnati desperately, desperately, desperately needed a center back to give them some assurance because they were just one injury or one suspension away from catastrophe last season at the center back position. Miazga gets suspended in the playoffs. Catastrophe. Team immediately falls apart in the important matches because they don't have the key player in that center back position. They don't have any sort of leadership back there. And again, team was crying out, screaming for that for not just the primary window, but the summer window.
And
Didn't
it
do
hurt you
anything.
guys in the playoffs, and then this season you guys had a crisis at center back
And it
again.
took us until and the thing is, we didn't even bring in a third center back in the primary window again. It took us until we had a season ending injury for Miazga. And then we brought in someone who would act as a center back. But now it's like, okay, if Robinson doesn't come back, you're right back to square one of needing yet another center back.
Which, obviously, news breaking today. There is another one coming in.
Right? Teenage Debbie.
Wouldn't say he was amazing for Houston with his time in MLS. He was decent. I think he's a good depth option.
I think he would be like your third choice center back. So if Cincinnati are rolling out a back three,
I guess
then
he's starting, yeah.
yeah, he would be your center back three, which is important because you need three quality center backs you can trust. Like you need MLS caliber guys. But I would be hard pressed to say he's a center back two caliber guy. Like, do you say that he's a swap like for Robinson? Probably not.
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah. Granted, they also play different positions within the center back
Yeah.
role, so I mean, it complicates it even further. But point being, this was my tangent of I've not been impressed with Chris Albright lately. This feels like he's trying to he's trying to like find the next great big move, which is great and all. I think if your ownership is worth like $300 million, like Philadelphia's, and don't want to spend a ton of money on their team, and when you have tens of millions of dollars in your budget for new players, you don't have to try and find like that hidden gem like value thing. Sometimes you can just go out and sign a good player.
Yeah, like the money isn't going to win you games. The money you get for Acosta or any player, any GM in this league with any player, the money isn't going to win you games. The players are going to win you games. So don't just look at a player as an asset. Look at them as someone who can help your team win.
Yeah. And look, a player is worth more than just like their stats, right? Like we always hear, and you'll hear like culture guys, locker room guys, vibes guys, right? Those are important.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you need guys who can keep you uplifted when it's really tough. If you're on like a 2-3 game losing streak and they're like keeping you positive, keeping you optimistic, keeping your head up, important aspects of a team. You need leaders out there, even if they're not the most technically gifted player, even if they're not the quickest player, they're not the strongest player, they're not your best at winning aerials, they don't score the most goals, but they are leaders out there that can organize your team and put players in a position to succeed. You need them as well. You need those stars. You need the people who can go and put the ball into the back of the net. You need a competent goalkeeper. Like every single player has a reason to be on the field, or a reason to even be on the bench, or even a reason to just be in the locker room, even if they're not consistently making up, you know, the numbers on the bench on the match day squad. But, guys get signed to these rosters for a reason. And yeah, like sometimes it's not about, oh, can I make the coolest transaction? Can I get a lot of value for a guy? Like what does the value do for you? So
We're here to win games, not make the most money.
right.
At least
Yeah,
we
and
are.
that look, we as fans, I want to see my team win. So if a GM is actively trading away the best player on a team and has in his entire tenure never brought in an effective offensive option, which I think is fair to say about Albright, if you look at his track record of strictly offensive signings,
Kelsey's been decent.
he hasn't played. They don't want to play him.
He's played a little bit.
He's getting like 30 minutes here and there.
Yeah.
So whatever they're seeing in the background, right, or whatever's going on with that deal, something's going on that means they're either not playing him, either he's not the right fit, or his contract isn't good, or they negotiated a deal that doesn't let him play. Point being, he signed a guy who isn't playing much for us and hasn't been doing much lately.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say on this is you guys have a squad who is good enough to compete for a trophy. And Acosta is a big reason for that. So when it goes to right time for Columbus, they did it in the middle of the season. They did it with, yes, their marquee player, but they also brought in a replacement in that same window. It's not the right time for you guys because your guys' main man that can bring you to a trophy, the trophy you guys really want, MLS Cup, not Supporter Shield, is
We're not
Acosta.
winning Supporter Shield at this point.
Yeah, you guys are out of that race for sure. But is Acosta. So like you don't replace your marquee guy in the middle of the season when there's no other marquee players up top for you guys. He's the one. So he's your best chance right now. And we've seen players drag their teams to MLS Cup finals and to MLS Cup trophies. So like it's not unheard of. And he's good enough to do it. So
He did it last year.
It's a really, really dumb move to try and get rid of him.
Yeah, I agree with you. But there's no alternative take I have on that. I just from a tinkering standpoint, right? Like, because I was thinking to myself, what would be the logic? Like, what's the payoff in it? And we've seen it before. So I wanted to use the Crew as a parallel because it obviously worked out well for them. And so like their organization planned well enough to be able to identify the talent. They planned out far enough to be able to identify when to bring them in and when to shift out the existing player. And that's so I think that's when it's tinkering, right? Is when it goes right, it's tinkering, and when it goes wrong, it's you're blowing up the roster. So I'd be curious to any listeners who might be watching live with us right now, or to anyone who's just listening along to this after we post it online. Feel free to hit the link in the description. Right, you can send us a message on your thoughts there. Like, what for you becomes an instance of what is tinkering by a GM, and what is when is that too far? So I'd be interested to hear everyone's interpretations on it.
Yep. Me too.
Now, using that as a segue, right? Columbus, holy moly. I saw an insane stat. I don't know if you've seen it. They've, under Wilfred Nancy, since playing at lower.com field, have only ever lost at lower.com field twice.
Yep. Pretty
That's
insane.
That's an unbelievable stat. That stadium's been open. It's not like it's been open for like 3 weeks, right? Like, it's been open for multiple seasons.
Yeah. Do you think
That they're the best team in MLS right now? Yes. Do I think they're winning MLS Cup? Probably.
and I don't know how to word this because I don't want to be like there's been so many great teams, right? But that's the question I think on everybody's mind. I feel like I can for sure say this is the most well coached team I've ever seen in this league. Ever. Even with Bruce Arena and New England Revolution recently, even with Tata Martino. I mean, Tata Martino is doing an amazing job with Miami this season. Like, that shouldn't go under the radar. This season, Tata Martino is doing amazing. But, like, Nancy is... He has his stars, but he has some mid-level players playing out of their mind. Absolutely out of their mind. And just winning trophies, they are inevitable at this point. They have reached inevitability. It was 1-1 late in the game, and it just felt like they're going to score. They're going to win. Either it's going to be on penalties or they're going to score. And no matter how well LAFC played in that second half, felt like this was Columbus's game. It's just an insane stat, and they are becoming an insane team.
Yeah. I said in a group chat last night, I was like, we'll see, what 90 plus 4 has to say about how this game turns out. And now, granted, Columbus scored at 90 plus 1. They
You
also
were
scored at
close.
90 plus 4. So they did score in that moment, but it wasn't the quote unquote winning goal since it ended, 3-1, but it did seal it, if nothing else.
So when it's a close game like that and you score a late goal and then you score a second late goal, those
Done.
are the
Yeah.
best feelings. That the winner is awesome, but when you just score another one to seal the deal, man, that's just such a great feeling. So that place exploded with that Russell Rowe goal.
The Russell roll.
Yeah. Coin it, phrase it, put it on a
Hey,
t-shirt.
on the topic of well coached, right? Because I think this is going to be like a Wilfred Nancy appreciation podcast at this point, which it may as well always be.
Yeah.
But they never really looked like they were under pressure, so to speak. Like, LAFC had chances, right? They had possession, but just Columbus was calm. Like, there was no scrambling, right? Like, I never was watching this match like LAFC's got him on the ropes or flustered. I mean, that is an unbelievably, I keep coming back to it. It is an unbelievably well coached team. Like, is Wilfred Nancy the best coach to have been in MLS? And I argue he might be, you know, at minimum top three, if not in conversation to be the best coach to have coached in MLS.
I think Well, I hope he gets a real chance to go over to Europe and prove himself. And I think by the time he's over in Europe for 5, 6, 7 years, we will go back and say he is one of the best. I think he needs to go and do it over in Europe with a good team over there. Doesn't have to be a trophy, but he has to bring some sort of good run, great play over in Europe somewhere, and then we'll look back. Within MLS, he's one of the best, for sure. For sure, he's one of the best MLS coaches.
I don't know who I could put above him though. That's like right now in this moment.
I mean, you've got your legends, right? You've got Schmetzer and Siggy Schmidt and Tata Martino and Bruce Arena. Like there are names, but he
Right.
is certainly
Which of their teams from a tactical standpoint pass what we've been seeing this season from Nancy though?
tactical. I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of it was superstars and yes, it's smart tactics, but some of it was literally just standard transition based tactics. This is advanced stuff. Now I will push back a little bit. They were under a little bit of stress in the second half. I think LAFC showed why they're always in finals. Like LAFC are a good team, and they did put them under stress. They did get the goal off a corner. It feels like it's always off a corner in these big games for LAFC. I don't know why. It just feels like they always score a set piece in these big games. So I think Columbus struggled a little bit in the second half, but for the most part, they controlled the game. They controlled the majority of the game.
Yeah.
And actually, Ian Southcote once said something similar. He said, I would argue around minutes 60 to 75, Columbus were a little sloppy and looked a little nervous. I'd agree with that.
I'll go back. I'll rewatch it.
You should.
I'll see if the nerves come through. They felt cool, calm, and collected for me. I do agree. LAFC looked dangerous and had chances, but I don't know. Just it didn't feel like it was in doubt.
It didn't feel like it was ever going to become 2-1. I think 1-1, LAFC, again, I thought LAFC were good. In the second half, they did create chances. I could see a 1-1. They got their 1-1 off a corner. I couldn't see a 2-1 LAFC.
Yeah. No, I saw that going to maybe penalty kicks, and then, we saw how that stoppage time played out.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know who put this take out. I want to say it might have been like LAFC Fan TV or something on Twitter X, but this wasn't in my mindscape at all post match. But I saw them post like this morning on Monday, the day after, something to the effect of like, Steve Cherundolo has been in 5 cup finals and has won one of them. We deserve better. And that's an interesting take. And it really is, because to an extent, I can actually see an argument that they're right. Like, LAFC, supremely talented team, right? You can't say there's not good players on that team. Does a different coach, does a quote unquote better coach, take that from 1 trophy in 5 finals to 2, 3, 4 trophies in 5 finals?
Yes, a better coach does, obviously. I think it's who is that better coach? That's always the question. The front office have to make that decision. And it's also hard to fire the guy who is getting you to these finals. Like, it grinds my gears a little bit when people call Cherundolo a failure, because he is getting his team into the finals consistently. And that is all you can ask for from a coach, is that you get your team the opportunity to go win. And then, anything can happen in a final. That's what everyone always says. And you look at who he's played, it's not like he's been like the favorites in every single one of these. He's played Columbus twice, away from home twice. He's played Club Leon in the what was that? CONCACAF Champions Cup final, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I can't remember the other one. I think it was Campeones Cup, and honestly, who cares? Um, I don't think that one should count. But Columbus twice and Club Leon, to me, it's no shame to lose to those two teams. No shame. At least he was there. That's how
Yeah.
I feel about it.
That's the other side of it I can also see is like, well, it's easy to say that when you're consistently getting to that point, and every other team that isn't getting to that point is probably looking at you being like, well, I have no sympathy for you because I would love to be in your, in your shoes.
Now, I think he has room to grow as a manager and getting them over the line because he almost went 0 for 5, if not for that random cross into the box and Bale header. He was seconds away from going 0 for 5, which, okay. Like, these one-off big games are clearly a need for improvement from him as a coach. And if you feel he can't upgrade in that aspect, then yeah, go get a replacement. But you have to be very careful because chasing that minuscule 2% upgrade could totally ruin everything. And then you're not even making finals. You're going out of the playoffs in the first round. That's the hard part. That is the really hard part. I'm glad I don't have to make that decision.
It's almost like there's a fine line between tinkering and blowing it all up, huh?
Oh, yeah. Almost like that.
Almost like that. Although, I will say, just, from the cynical side of things, if you get rid of Trundalo, right, and your new coach doesn't win you anything and isn't making it into the finals, the end result is still the same. Neither one of them was winning a trophy.
You got a point.
If the goal of the game is to win a trophy, then maybe like a certain inspirational race car driver once said, if you ain't first, you're last.
Yep.
Hey, there were actually two matches, believe it or not, on Sunday. We ended with the final, right? So both these teams going to CONCACAF Champions Cup because they made it to the final, both get automatic spots into the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Colorado, Philadelphia battled it out for the right to claim that third spot in the Champions Cup with the third place trophy on the line for Leagues Cup. And I do want to give some love to Colorado because, I don't think anyone expected them to go far in the tournament, let alone finish third place and finish for Champions Cup.
Yeah, they absolutely deserve some love. I really like that it's set up this way to where the third place game actually has something real on the line. So I think that's pretty cool. And Colorado, they stuck it out. They had a lot of close games against a lot of good teams, and they went away from home and they got to the penalty shootout. They won the penalty shootout. All props to them. They deserve it.
Yeah. Yep. Earned me a lot of points in our Leagues Cup draft as well. So
I mean, just listen to these last 5 games. Leon, Juarez, okay, an informed Juarez, we'll say, Toluca, Club America, and LAFC. That is a tough run of games right there for Colorado. So
and
to get through
only one they lost.
LAFC.
Insane.
So to make it through that run and get to the third place match, to get to the semifinals, yeah, well done. Well done.
Really well done. And really well done, especially to, I think, surely the MVP of their entire run for the tournament, Zach Steffen.
Yeah, I think he got goalkeeper of the tournament.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, he played
Nobody
well.
else could have come close. I think I shared this as a stat in the MLS group chat at one point that Stefan is saving 1 in 3 of the penalty kicks that he's facing, which is a mind blowing statistic.
That's up there with Melia. That's
Yeah, I mean,
insane.
1 in 3 is a really good chance when you
Mm-hmm.
think about the fact that the I guess the expected goal value of a penalty is 3 and 4. So at best, you would figure an average goalkeeper just guessing might save 1 in 4, might, and we know it doesn't pan out that way.
One, no, it's got to be like 1 in 8.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like from a the inverse of the expected goal value side, right?
Oh,
So if it
sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
so if it's expected that they are going to make a goal appear from a penalty kick 3 out of 4 times for a player, then you would imagine between the goalkeeper themselves and maybe like them slipping a meteor flashing past their eye and distracting them, um them psyching themselves out, hitting the crossbar, the woodwork, something like 25% of the time something goes wrong. Even if we give all of that to a goalkeeper, which we know it's not all a goalkeeper, right? Like your best case average save expectancy would be 1 in 4. So, and again, it's not near that.
Yeah. Ian says, always excited for February CONCACAF games in Colorado.
Yeah, you should be.
I this off season I thought it was going to take a little bit longer to turn things around for Colorado. I mean, they were dreadful last season. And I don't know, it you can turn things around so quickly in this league. It's insane. And that is a lot of that's down to the parity of the league for sure. You get a couple good players in, you get a coach who can put them onto the field in some sort of formation that works, and you you just go and win games, and they're doing really well right now. So props to them for getting into international competition. If we want to talk about serial chokers, I
Oh, it's a segue to Philadelphia, and I already
I
know you're talking about their penalty kicks.
the penalty kicks, the club. I mean, everyone likes to say LAFC are the chokers, but like, how many times is Philadelphia going to be in a situation to win silverware and just again just throw it all away?
And throw it away on penalty kicks more often than not.
Penalty kicks. I
What's their
mean,
record in penalty kick? Like win this penalty shootout and you win something tangible, right? Like what's their record in penalty shootouts
we need
in
someone to go
those?
gather that. Yeah.
Yeah, because like they didn't do well in MLS Cup. They did
Nope.
really poorly. Didn't they lose like 3-1 in MLS Cup?
I think so. Yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
it
and then
was
3-1
bad.
again on this one.
Yeah. And then they've
I
lost in semifinals of CONCACAF Champions Cup. I think to LAFC. They've lost in semifinals of MLS Cup because their players went and had that party. Remember that? And it's just
Yeah,
like
they all got sick. That was crazy. What a way to lose.
this club, man. This club. They are the serial chokers right now more than LAFC for me. And even then, again, they're putting themselves in positions. They are getting to semifinals, getting to finals, and they just can't get over the line. They just don't have that X factor.
Yeah. I don't even know what to chalk it up to either for them because, like,
It's like a curse,
and,
man.
yeah, like Jim Curtin has consistently done more with less, and we've seen strong tactics out of him. Like, I don't know what it is that needs to change there. I mean, maybe you just change everything, right? Maybe you have to change the front office, maybe you have to change the coach, maybe you have to blow up the team at that point. Like
which they are
maybe,
actively doing.
yeah, well, they are doing that. Um, I mean, Martinez gone, Carranza gone, Wagner was almost gone. They ended up keeping him, but I feel like it's only a matter of time. Like he'll probably be gone again at some point, right?
Yeah, Damian Lowe just left as well.
Mm-hmm.
Bedoya's got to be going after this season. I can't see him sticking around one more year.
Yeah, getting up
They're
there in age
definitely
as
in
well.
who?
They're getting up there in age. Bedoya.
Yeah. So I mean, they look like they found a good player in Baribo, who I think they did miss badly against Columbus. I don't think it would have changed the outcome, but obviously he gets 2 goals in this third place match. He's been on fire in Leagues Cup. He may have scored the most goals or like the second most goals in the competition. I mean, he just went off in the competition. Um, and so like they seem to have replaced Carranza there, maybe, possibly. So it'll be interesting to see how they rebuild over the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, that 12 to 18 months. I mean, shoot, with the track record this league has, I mean, you can do it in one window almost.
That's true. 7 goals. He had
Just
seven.
insane.
He had 7 goals in Leagues Cup,
Also insane. I
and he's
mean,
had 6 in MLS.
I'm telling you, man, this league is nonsense.
Yeah, that's a good word for it.
It's just that the nonsense is never ending.
Yep.
Man, hey, whew. So that that covers us for Leagues Cup and
Oh my
like
gosh.
general topics, right? Like, oh my, so much more to go.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Baribo. Just lastly, Baribo finished top scorer in Leagues
okay.
Cup.
Well, that's good.
Rossi had 6. Bawanga had 6. So those were the top 3: Baribo, Rossi, Bawanga. Nice, nice. Okay, we can move on.
Ooh, I don't even know which way to move on to. I mean, there's a
Ay, ay,
ton
ay.
of matches to talk about. A few highlights, okay? Let's start. Let's talk about some, must see, must re-see, must if you're bored during lunch and have nothing better to do, toss it on while you eat or something type match. Portland versus St. Louis, I think, makes that cut. It's
Yep.
a 4-4 match. St. Louis. Okay, I have two takes on this. I can give you either the optimistic, very, very happy um, take, or I can give you a cynical, slightly negative take, or I can give you both.
I think I know which way you're gonna go with both of them. So let's do both.
Interesting. All right. Which one do you want to hear first? And do you want to make a prediction what each take is?
Okay. Of course, I want to make a prediction because why not?
Yeah. How could you not?
I want you to start with the negative one, or
Okay.
giving up the lead.
That's part of it. That is
Part of
part of
it.
it.
Defensively,
Um,
giving up the lead.
hmm I mean, it's shades of St. Louis all season. But the other side of it that I have, if you look at St. Louis and how they were scoring in those first 3 goals, set piece, penalty kick, set piece.
Okay. Fair.
All all through last season, they struggled in open play. You could say that the struggles continued into this season. Head coach removed. Um, they've had players kind of go out. Clearly, they're looking to retool the team. And then now they're still not scoring in open play. They have the pieces for it, maybe. On paper, they've got the pieces for it, but they're still not scoring in open play. That's my negative, cynical spin on it.
Okay. I
Now,
like that.
my optimistic side of it, right? St. Louis scored 4 goals in this match, and like that's pretty good. I would say 95 to 99% of the time, maybe even 99.9% of the time, if you score 4 goals, you're going to win. And it doesn't matter how they're scored. I mean, a corner kick, a penalty kick, run of play, they're all worth the same amount on the scoreboard.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you're a fan, do you care what the underlying metrics are? Because ultimately they had to create the chances for those set pieces. They had to create the chance to have the penalty called, and then they converted on them.
Yep.
They earned the scores. You know, every single one of those they had to put in the back of the net. Didn't matter how. Didn't matter what the start was. Only mattered the finish.
I think what I'm happy to see is they are kind of scoring by committee right now. Like, Toikert's getting involved, Becker or Betcher is getting on the score sheet, Loven is getting on the score sheet again. Like, it's not just a one-man show. They are really scoring as a team. And I think that's going to lead to good outcomes long term. So that's one thing I'm positive about with St. Louis City.
Yeah.
But this game, I will say,
Enjoyable. It was fun.
so
Could you
so
imagine being a
enjoyable.
Portland fan at this match?
I think they were pissed come the end of it.
Well,
With
they were
they
with
were
the offside call
with
or the foul or
the foul,
whatever
the
that
red
is.
card.
Yeah. Well, for Mora, yes, but I mean, you even go back to it, right? They think they have the equalizer and it's chalked off.
Oh, right. Yep.
And
So
then
and then the red card, and then Evander, and they have full elation.
that must have been granted, it's a draw, and I don't want to be like that must have been the sweetest draw ever and like say that in a really sarcastic tone, like, but it must have been like that is a draw that feels like a win.
Yes. Yep. They and Portland played well. They played. I mean, they created so many chances. Do you know their shot total in this game? Have you seen
I
it?
didn't I didn't look at the stats on this one. I watched the match,
I
did not look at the stats.
I did a double take. Just take a guess. How many shots Portland took in this game?
I don't know, like 37.
Close. 32.
That was, you know what? That was going to be within my next 10 guesses.
Okay. 32 shots. I mean, this was just back and forth, back and forth. St. Louis hitting them on the counter. Portland just peppering the goal. They eventually get the fourth. Just an insane game. If you haven't, go watch the highlights. It's a really fun one.
Or watch the whole thing.
Or watch
Sit
the whole
down on
thing.
lunch, toss it on, put 1.5 times speed on the playback. You're set,
So good to see Evander back as well on the score sheet. That free kick was just gorgeous. Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't have possibly shaped that shot any better.
Something
it's
about
over.
a last minute free kick to change the outcome of the games. It's just like ice in his veins, man.
Just pure dopamine.
Yep. So that one's a must see.
Yeah. What else do you want to put in this category of absolutely must put this on 1.5 times speed playback during lunch because you have nothing better to do with your life? But like I say this in a very endearing, positive way because it's like you already know the result, right? So like that's how you know it's good when you're going back and still watching these matches. DC Dallas.
I think that's the other one. Yep.
Yeah. DC 3, Dallas 4. I mean, again, it's like I want to say this went to halftime like what, like 4-2, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yeah,
you
which
do.
that's so.
Just
I mean,
insane.
yeah, like you realistically, I guess you could watch the first half of this if you really only care about like the 6 goals instead of how the match ends. But
6 goals and a red card. I think all in the all in the first half.
Which is just it. Gavin, stop me if you've heard this before. It's nonsense, complete nonsense.
Dallas were playing some really good soccer in this match. And it's like
Almost
DC
unrecognizable.
Yeah, DC United were playing well too. Like if you score 3 goals at home, you kind of expect to win that game. And it's similar to if you score 4 goals in a game, you expect to win it. Like just punch after punch, blow after blow from both teams, and Dallas just came out on top with 4 goals, just one too many for DC United. But yeah, it was kind of unrecognizable stuff. And I think it's got to be an outcome of they were off for weeks. They had a little mini preseason trying new tactics that DC United weren't ready for, and they worked. They worked a charm.
It did. This, oof, this specific topic you're hinting at is a perfect segue to another topic that I actually want to talk about, but I don't want to take away from this game yet. So just like remind me about the Leagues Cup layoff. So we'll come back to that as another topic when
It's
we're
a big
done talking
topic.
about.
We'll
Yeah,
touch on it.
literally next we'll touch on it because it ties in perfectly with another match I want to talk about, and I bet you can guess which one.
I don't
But
know, but we'll see.
yeah, okay. Anyways, back to DC versus Dallas. Unless I'm missing something, Dallas hasn't hired a full-time head coach yet.
I don't think so.
So here's my question. Is this long layoff something where your interim head coach legitimately had a time where he could implement some form of tactics, connect with the guys, get everyone rebought in for the end of the year? Or is this just like, is this a one off? Vibes are very high, vibes are immaculate, some would even say, going into this match. Everyone's refreshed, recovered, like healthy. What do you I mean, where do we chalk this up to? Because both teams were playing well, right? Like both teams playing quite well. So I want to say some of the time off might have helped, but I, there's so little in the way of similarity between these teams, though, right? Like one is in transition between leadership, the other one still has their leadership in Troy Lesane, has their talismanic striker in Benteke, who just consistently is showing up every single match. Dallas, on the other hand, is like who's showing up for them consistently? Basically nobody.
Not consistently, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is down to the coach having some time with the players. I mean, the players themselves were they looked much more comfortable in the system that they were playing. They looked like they knew who to pass to when they received the ball. They knew their roles. They knew their responsibilities on the ball. Defensively, they weren't amazing, and Benteke took full advantage of that in this match, getting a goal and an assist. But the less said about that, the better for FC Dallas. I do truly think that it was a coach getting some time to dedicate to his team, which makes me wish we had
No,
like a
don't
two
say
a
it.
2 week break at least. I guess this is the 2 week
No.
break, but
Well,
like
if you're Dallas, this was like a month long break.
each team, I know each team gets a bye, and maybe that's just what it is. Whenever a team kind of gets a bye week where they don't have a match, like that little break is what I'm asking for, and we already have that. So maybe I'm just being spoiled. But this was pretty nice to see for FC Dallas.
Yeah. All right. Now I'm ready to transition
Let's do
to
it.
this other
Let's do it.
topic. Yeah. Okay. We talked about this bye week, right? Getting a time off. Anyways, on the topic of time off, RSL lost 2-0 to San Jose Earthquakes. And that is one instance where it's like, did the time off help them? Because last year they got out of Leagues Cup and they immediately went into a post Leagues Cup slump. They weren't the only team to do so, but they were one that we were very, very high on. We were singing their praises, saying they're going to go win Leagues Cup. They're unstoppable. You can't play against them. Just ridiculous how well they're playing right now. They didn't perform too strongly in Leagues Cup. They performed even less strong coming out of Leagues Cup, going into the stretch of the season. So let me ask you: is that actually beneficial, or is it like
It definitely
maybe
hurts some teams.
yeah, because it does hurt some teams. San Jose, you can say that it kind of helped them. I mean, they made it a little bit further, right? Like they won their group. They advanced past, the group stage. They didn't go out immediately. But they still had time off.
Yep. So it definitely helped some teams. It definitely hurt some teams. I think this is a really good example of a team that got hurt. I mean, part of it though, if McMath saves that shot that he
Oh,
should save,
they're horrible, horrible ways to concede goals. Both of them. I
yeah,
don't think it's even just one of them. Like the first one, yes, McMath needs to save that. The second one, I still think McMath really probably should save that.
probably. So it's like they have that going on in this game. Now they weren't extremely dangerous. They didn't create a whole ton, unfortunately. So it's not like you can say they should have won this game if it weren't for McMath. But like at a minimum, they shouldn't have conceded in the 20th minute. And maybe they should have stayed in the game a bit longer. And obviously game state changes, and from there, things change.
Yeah, and again, this is one where I think, regardless of if they have possession or not, as the match goes on, it's just what did they do that made you feel that they were ever going to get back into the game?
Not much. And San Jose, they started this game hot. Like, I mean,
Oh yeah,
within 20 seconds, they forced a save out of
yeah.
McMath.
The alarms should have been ringing in Mastroeni's ears, and it should have been ringing in the players' ears. Like that should have been a wake up call.
Yeah, they did not wake up at all. Props to San Jose going away from home, underdogs in this match, getting the 2-0 win. But yeah, that was a big surprise this weekend.
Yeah, quite a surprise. And I think to just kind of circle back around, right? What do you think actually causes teams to either do well or not well with time off? Is this a coaching thing? Is this a cultural thing? Like, because I'm thinking about it, right? Like, let's look at some locations, and it's like, okay, RSL didn't do super well after getting time off. Well, it's not like they're in this huge mega city of like New York or Chicago where they're going out clubbing every single night for like 2 straight weeks,
Right.
right?
Definitely not Utah.
Yeah. So like, I don't. I'm guessing it's probably not like there's a cultural influence there that is draining anything of them. Is it like an internal team culture type thing? Like the time off, maybe it's not. There's not enough like competition internally. Do players like are they being let off too much? Where it's like, hey, we got 2 weeks off. Like, enjoy it, guys. Go, have a glass of wine. Go camping in the woods or something. Like, which isn't to say like, oh, players can't have vacations, right? That is absurd. Like everyone needs time to themselves, but like very clearly, if some teams are coming through these breaks and looking better, and others are coming through looking worse, like there has to be an explanation for why they're looking worse when other people have shown you can come out the other side looking better.
Yeah, I mean, we're dealing with, locker rooms full of 20 grown men and coaching staff and medical staff. Like there's so much going on. It's a very complex thing, and it's probably impossible to pinpoint. If I had to guess on a few things that impact it, being in a routine and then coming out of that routine and then immediately trying to jump back into it can be difficult, as we all know, just from human experience. If you're going to the gym, you stop, and then you start going back, that going back part is one of the hardest things to do. Same thing with dieting. That's why people struggle with dieting so much. You start on the diet, you get off it for a few days, you can't get back on the diet. That sort of like human behavior could play a role in this. You're in that routine of, okay, match on Saturday, training on Monday, training on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You do this Friday morning to prepare for the game, and then Saturday you've got your home match, or then you expect you're flying out on Wednesday for an away match, things like that. So you kind of have this rumbling routine. And then all of a sudden, let's say the team's like, oh, okay, we're giving you 2 days off. And those 2 days off, maybe you go spend some time with your family, and then, you do whatever. You come back on Wednesday or Thursday, and then maybe you're doing practice on Sunday because you didn't practice on Monday and Tuesday or whatever. You guys get what I'm saying. I think that plays a part. Just the change in schedule. Fitness as well. Just again, when you're in that routine, you're keeping your fitness up, and it's so crazy, but just not playing a 90-minute match, because those matches are so intense, right? Not playing a match for 2-3 weeks, like, that impacts your fitness. It does. It impacts your fitness. Even if it's small, it impacts your fitness. It makes that sprint in the 57th minute a lot harder than the sprint was in the 67th minute 2 weeks ago. So it's little things like that gets impacted. So I don't have the answers. I don't know why some teams are better at it than others. It could just be a culture thing as well. But I think it's all about managing those spaces really well, personally and as a coaching staff and a team.
Yeah, I think as an overall answer, we may not know the exact reason, but I think you're dead on, right? It can be best summarized as somewhere in there, teams are managing that time off better than others. Just the secret is what's inside that bubble. Like, what are they doing in there?
Mm-hmm. And
So
some
we'll
teams,
find out.
the teams that did well, they tended to start fast. And the teams that didn't do well, they seemed to come out the gates kind of slow. So that might, like, literally preparing the team to say we're pressing right from the beginning. That's the first thing we are doing in this match is we're pressing hard. Like, just having that, like, jolt at the beginning might be another thing that helped with teams, because there were a couple teams, my team included, that started slow, and they didn't really have that energy in the first 5 minutes, and you could see throughout the game that it looked like we were trudging through the match, and RSL were kind of grueling through the match. So things like that.
Do you have a dog sneezing behind you?
Yeah, she's digging a china back there in the bed.
I can
and
tell.
Also sneezing.
Man, pretty late for a dog to be so busy. Like, my cat's done. Like, it's 10:20 as we sit here recording this, and the cat is, like, kind of settled in, paws tucked under him. He's done. Like, he's not making any noise. He's at most swatting at me if my feet get too close to him.
She's an Australian Shepherd, so she's always got energy.
Oh, man.
All right, we have talked about, 2 MLS matches?
3.
Okay, we talked about 3. Yep.
Yeah.
Are there any others you want to hit on?
I think you could say Cincinnati, Miami is probably of interest to hit on. As a Cincinnati fan, I would like to not relive that match, but
maybe let's just fly through the rest of them.
Yeah, hold on, let me pull them all up. Holy moly, I've got
again, Miami started fast. Played well. They kind of held
5 minutes.
What happened after the red card? You guys didn't create nada. Or, you created, but you didn't finish nada.
This is very par for the course for Cincinnati. And I think that's a discussion for another podcast. But I think it's been something like in the 4 matches that Cincinnati has had a man advantage, they've either scored 0 times or only scored once.
You guys struggle in that game state.
We are terrible. If you want to guarantee that we don't score on you, just get a man sent off in the first minute. Like, legitimately, I don't think Cincinnati, if you gave them 90 full minutes, I don't think Cincinnati score more than 1 goal. Like, if you're up 1-0, just go get a red card. and
Remember
you're
the Orlando
guaranteed a
game?
draw.
You guys scored in like the first second, and then
Yeah.
we went down to 10 men after like, what, 10, 15 minutes? And you guys didn't score again.
Mm-hmm. That
So,
that
yeah,
is.
you guys struggle in that game state.
We are a terrible team when playing up a man. And that
Also,
is, I put that one entirely on, like, you can't just put it on players. That one's on coaching as well.
just quickly, we don't have to spend too much time on this because I agree with you. Avilas, I mean,
Ridiculous.
he's a
That's
good
stupid.
young center back. He is. But that challenge was stupid. Like, that incident was just stupid. And I'm sorry, but how many red cards is this guy going to get?
Apparently
Like, I feel
one
like
every
this
other
is
game.
his, what, third red card at this point in his career already in MLS?
And he's been in the league for what? This season?
He was here last season too, I think, right?
Was he?
I think he was here halfway through last season.
Okay. I was gonna say it feels like it's his third red card this season.
Let's see. He had one against Cincinnati. I'm looking at his games here. He had one against Philadelphia Union. So he's on 2 this season.
Well,
Okay,
give him
it
time.
felt
We'll get
like
a third.
he's had more. Maybe I'm just over egging it here. So
Maybe.
he's had. I'm looking at all his matches. He's had 2 red cards in his career. Feels like maybe it's just because they're so close together. But he's an
Maybe.
aggressive player. He's an aggressive player. So he will definitely. This will not be his last red card of his career.
No, it might not even be his last red card of this season.
No, may not be with how he's playing.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go light speed forward. Minnesota, Seattle. Seattle taking this one 3-2. Minnesota, I have no idea what they're doing right now. That's like Seattle have been kind of clawing their way back, and I guess at this point I would expect them to beat Minnesota, right? Like beat the teams that you're supposed to beat is kind of the situation that Seattle's in right now, even though they had a pretty tough start to the year.
Mm-hmm.
But Minnesota looked like a shell of what they were earlier this season. I can't tell you what's gone on. Yes, injuries. Yes, absences. Yeah. Everyone has to deal with the injuries and absences. They look like a shell of themselves.
Shell of their early season selves. I would say this performance felt more on par of what we've seen through the second part of the season. I will say that Kelvin Yeboah, their new striker, he obviously scored 2 goals in this game. He looked promising, but the team overall feel like they could use some higher quality in certain areas of the field. They could use a few upgrades. You know, their center back and center midfield, like that spine of the team, that's where I would want to see some upgrades for Minnesota. I think everywhere else they've kind of got enough to compete, but that's my feeling there. Also, in the chat, Ian Southcote once said Seattle is now 13-2-1 against Minnesota. So that's kind of an insane stat.
Yeah, I mean, apparently never in doubt then.
Yeah, apparently just it's always Seattle against Minnesota no matter what.
Take the money line next time they meet.
Yep.
Talking New York City FC versus Chicago Fire. I'm going to just quote Coach Joe. This wasn't an official correspondence corner that he put in the chat, but it was very funny. Nick Cushing, unaware he has to actively coach in both halves, not just the first half. Draws will cause this team to miss out on home playoff game or playoffs altogether.
NYCFC ain't getting a home playoff game. No way.
Or playoffs altogether.
Yeah.
I mean, they looked like they would for a hot minute there. Like, Cushing seemingly had it figured out. And then he unfigured it out.
Yep. That is correct. Or Chicago
Yeah,
figured it out.
No.
We can give some props to the other team.
Don't give props to
Okay.
Chicago.
Okay. My bad.
They
My bad.
did play well there, but if we give them any props, right, Gavin, that means that when I inevitably bet on them again at some point, I'm gonna lose. So we're reverse psychology, the curse. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it did take a high quality shot from Hugo Kuipers to score, and then the penalty from Gutierrez to get the equalizer.
And it took New York City FC not scoring on some pretty clear chances.
Also factual. Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Charlotte versus New York Red Bulls.
That game happened.
That game happened. New York Red Bulls don't have a player who can finish apparently, which
That's been the
I
case for like 3 seasons.
yeah,
Sorry, ever since they lost Bradley Wright Phillips.
I saw a shot map and it's just like this insane number of huge dots on that shot map representing, an increasingly expectant chance of scoring a goal that were left unfilled to indicate not scored.
Yeah, I have also seen the shot map. 20 shots in this game. 20 shots. 18 of them in the box. 1 goal. It's just not good enough. 18 shots in the box. 3 on target.
I don't think it's even not good enough, Gavin. I think it's bad.
Yeah.
That is ineffective attacking. And I know ineffective attacking because I've been watching quite a bit of that this season across a number of games that I've somehow elected to watch. That's ineffective.
Trust me, I know you have plenty of experience with ineffective attacking, Mr.
Oh, yeah.
Cincinnati fan.
Oh, wait, look, 2019 to 2021 was an experience that I will try to forget every single day of my life, and I never will.
Yeah. So that's the story with Red Bulls right now. Charlotte, I mean, they're just draw central right now. They love a draw.
Yeah. I think it was
Do they have
at
the most
home.
in the league? No, they don't have the most in the league.
I don't think so. I thought it was Ty Ronto.
Oh, it's actually the Red Bulls who have 12. No. Toronto have 3. Toronto have 3 draws.
I was making a word joke, Gavin.
Ha ha ha. St. Louis have 12 and the Red Bulls have 12. So
that seems par for the course for St.
Charlotte
Louis.
have 8.
They do draw quite a bit.
Yes.
Prior to the window, prior to Leagues Cup.
Yep.
We'll see.
But anyways,
granted, they have another one now because it was 4-4.
because it was 4-4.
That's an insane.
4-4.
I'm sorry, a 4-4 draw is just insane. How many of those happen in a season across all matches? It can't be more than like 2 or 3.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
Only Netherlands.
Okay, I'm moving us on. Houston 0, Toronto 1. Houston looked pretty competent at one point in time, and we're going to call that 2023 under Ben Olsen. And then the calendar ticked over, and now Houston don't look like they know how to play soccer under Ben Olsen, which is weird. I hope they figure that out. That's my take.
I think that's a good take.
Yeah. Okay, side note on Toronto. I don't want to dunk on Toronto too much, but I think I saw that, and I have no idea if this is factual or not. This could be pure, trolling and speculation, and I'm here for it if it's trolling and entirely a joke, but I thought I saw someone, post that there was a report that drones were seen above Forge FC in the Canadian Championship when Toronto were playing them, which is just...
I think Herdman has a few allegations ongoing.
More than a few.
Yeah,
I think he has admitted that he has done that and was like, "Oh, I see no issue with doing it."
Yeah. So, you're right. It's not just allegations. I forgot that he did verbally communicate that he did that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Well, hey, look, if you're Houston, all I'm saying is maybe they need to be
Practice
checking the
indoors.
luggage. Yeah, check the luggage. When you see that Houston's coming in, call up the airport. Be like, hey, we don't want these guys bringing any drones.
Right. I don't. I don't
There's
have
not much else to
anything
talk
on
about.
this game.
I
Sorry.
really just wanted to talk about the drone allegation.
Yeah.
Well, not allegation, the more drone instances.
Instances.
It,
Yeah.
it's
Yikes.
it's not going away. It's not. It's just it isn't. It's going to be an entire season long reference for us. Gavin, I'm sure you would love to skip this one. We will talk about it very briefly instead, though, because we had to bring up my bad memories. So here's yours: Kansas City 3, Orlando 0.
Yeah. All I'll say about this one is what I said earlier. We started slow. SKC were definitely the more physical team. At one point, there was a call that went against us. And when a referee doesn't make a call for us, we get very emotional. This has been a long term issue under Oscar Pareja, and the team just stops trying to score goals and they start trying to win fouls and hit people. And it's pretty disheartening to watch every single time it happens. So, Kansas City played well. They were the better team on the day, and they even got a red card and still looked the better team and actually scored the third goal down to 10 men. So, and it wasn't one of those transition goals where you're pushing. No, we had men back and they just passed it around us and scored. So, the less said on this match, the better.
Well, I won't say any more on it then. I'm not gonna lie to you, Gavin. I wish I didn't have to say much about this next match, which I've got Nashville Austin up next. But actually, I do have a question for you on this
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Um, what do you think? Because Nashville scored 0. What do you think their expected goals were in this match?
Nashville?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Keep in mind
gosh.
they scored 0.
Yep, obviously.
They had
Yep.
18 shots, 7 were on target.
7 on target.
Mm-hmm.
That's helpful. That's helpful.
That's very helpful. I know.
18 shots, 7 on target. XG. I'm going to go with a 0.91.
0.91 is a respectable guess, but it is very far away from accurate.
Oh.
2.53.
What?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah. 2.53.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. Nashville aren't very good at home.
They're not very good. Period.
Yes, okay. You could cut that statement off early. Yes. Nashville are not very good. But they're really not very good at home.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it is. But yeah, they have a new head coach. We know that it's going to take time to change for them. Maybe the good news, again, if you're looking for like your silver lining, right? Maybe you say, well, under Gary, 2.53 expected goals would be like the sum of the expected goals for like 5 matches.
Yep. That's
So,
accurate.
yeah, like it can be a step in the right direction. They're still not very good at home. That is a fact. On the Austin side, they had a very strong, very respectable Leagues Cup, and they've turned that into positive momentum. A win on the road.
Yeah, they looked good in Leagues Cup. So I think that's a good point on the Austin side of things.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can keep this
Actually,
up.
where do Austin sit in the standings too? I mean, are they clawing their way back up? Yeah, they're sitting in 9th now.
Yeah, I think they're on their way
That's
back up, yeah.
that's technically a play-in spot.
No, they're in 8th. They're in 8th. No?
That would be insane if they were in 8th, considering Houston has 37 points and Austin has 34.
Am I losing my mind? What's going on here?
Yes, you are. How's that a question?
Oh, there was some random filter. Yeah, they're on ninth. They're on ninth. You're right. Whatever, man. You don't need to do all that.
Filter. Mm-hmm.
All right, a few more games to finish out here.
Oh my
You want
gosh!
to do?
There's so many games.
I know. Two more.
LA Galaxy Atlanta was exactly what we thought it was. Yes, it was. What are you talking about?
Okay, the result was, but Atlanta played really well. Atlanta should have, at a minimum, had 2 goals in this match. They were all over LA Galaxy for the first 50 to 60 minutes. And then Marco Royce came in and whoever else came on with him. And it felt like that's when the game changed for Galaxy. So I wouldn't say it was as expected because I thought Atlanta weren't good enough to dominate Galaxy like they did.
But they didn't score.
They didn't score
because they're not a good team.
Because they couldn't stay onside.
Right. Because they're and what does that go back to?
I think they had like 2 offside goals taken away. Like I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, Atlanta were really, really good in this match. They just couldn't get the ball in the back of the net.
I gotta say, I'm really impressed. I'm going off of the MLS XG on this one, just as I'm looking at some of like the stats on these, just out of curiosity. What do you think the stats were saying about the XG for Galaxy? Oh my gosh. I'll tell you right now, it was above
probably pretty good.
2. Yeah.
Probably pretty good because they also created some good chances. Above 2, so I don't know, like 2.8.
Try 4.1.
What?
I mean, that's like, again, MLS is
insane.
More generous. I will say this: they are a little bit more generous with their XG than some of the other stat sites that I would normally use. I'm lazy to pull the stat sites up right now, so I was like, I'll just use MLS.
Insane.
But, yeah, I mean
this one's a fun match to watch. It just wasn't as goal crazy as the 4-3 and the 4-4, but there were similar amounts of chances and back and forth end-to-end stuff in this game.
Yes, with the result that all of us expected to see.
Yes, the result, yes, of course.
Which I still don't know how you thought that wasn't going to be the result.
The result I expected. The performance from Atlanta, I did not.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to the one match that we skipped that I realized I forgot to mention, Montreal, New England.
Montreal fans probably thanked you for that.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. New England fans are out there like, come on, say it, say the line, Bart, say the line. New England 5, Montreal 0.
What the heck?
What more do you want me to say? I mean, like, Montreal do this, man. Montreal do this. Like, they'll go on they do this every season where they drop some stinker of matches. Like, they'll have some really good momentum and then they just put out a stinker.
This is just one of those where it's like, this team, they got knocked out of Leagues Cup early. They had the chance to kind of do their little mini preseason, their second preseason under Courtois. Like, this is your chance to go do something. You're at home against a team who's been struggling this season, and they just got destroyed. Absolutely correct, yes. Destroyed. By none other than Bobby Wood. Have some respect for yourselves, Montreal. You can't be allowing Bobby Wood to score 2 goals against you. Come on.
But they did.
Yeah, it was not a great showing from them. You're right. I think you're right. They just have games like this.
They just have games like. By the way, this game was at home for Montreal, so like
That's the crazy
insult
thing.
to injury.
Yeah. I don't know. Insane.
Like losing at home happens from time to time, and I think fans accept that it will happen from time to time. But losing at home 5-0 is. Eesh.
Yeah, especially, I mean, a lot of the goals came, 71st minute, 79th minute, 83rd minute. So it's like somewhere in there they either ran out of steam or they just kind of gave up. But no matter what, it was a really poor performance from them across the board.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to beat on the dead horse here, just real quick. So Montreal, would you say they had momentum going into Leagues Cup?
Um, Gosh, I don't even remember. I don't think so.
Okay. Because
Would
I'm
you?
like trying. Well, I would say they had more momentum than this, but
Well, this,
I'm
yeah.
like I'm trying to draw some sort of like commonality in my brain, and it's just like, well, the teams that went into Leagues Cup kind of looking low energy and terrible, and like they wanted to be anywhere other than on an MLS side right now, all kind of had good games on the other side of the Leagues Cup break.
So this is Montreal. So they uh, tied New York Red Bulls, lost at home against Toronto, got smoked in Leagues Cup by Orlando, beat San Luis, lost to Philadelphia in the round of 32, and this is their next game, the 5-0. So I would not say
Yeah,
they had momentum heading in. They didn't have a great tournament, and coming out of it, they've lost 5-0 to one of the worst teams in the league this season.
dang. All right, take that one off
Yeah,
the drawing board.
yeah.
We'll keep those red strands of yarn going to see if we can find some connection.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's all the games. So I think we got
Now it
through
is
it.
all the games. Yes, you are correct. Sorry, Montreal fans. I tried to spare you, but I could not. Gavin's responsible.
My bad.
Uh, Holy moly, that's a lot of soccer. We haven't talked this long on a podcast in ages either. I mean,
I
those
know.
those those 6:30 a.m. 30-minute recordings were like the sweet spot.
Mm-hmm. Hey, we've got soccer on Wednesday. FYI,
Oh
Columbus is
boy.
back in action against Philadelphia.
Yeah, these are U.S. Open Cup matches coming up, right?
Mm-mm. Wednesday, Philly versus Columbus is MLS.
What? I thought it was a U.S. Open Cup match.
No, we have U.S. Open Cup too, but from an MLS perspective, for the Open Cup,
Yeah, U.S. Open Cup is Seattle LAFC.
is that Wednesday? Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's Wednesday.
And then we have SKC tomorrow against Indy 11.
Mm-hmm. I so want Indy 11 to win. Just for the record.
If SKC played like they did against Orlando, they're gonna smoke Indy 11.
I know. I know. And Toronto versus Forge FC is also tomorrow.
Second, is that the second
Second
leg?
leg. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of the Canadian Championship.
Is that the final or the semifinal?
Oh, I don't know what it is. I've only been following it ancillary. Look, this is not the MLS Now plus Canadian Championship podcast, unfortunately. It's the MLS Now podcast when we occasionally talk about US Open Cup and occasionally talk about US men's national team and we occasionally talk about Arsenal.
So Forge beat Toronto 2-1 in July. It's crazy how split up this is. July 10th, Forge beat Toronto 2-1 in the semifinal first leg. So this is the semifinal second leg. The other one is Pacific versus Vancouver, and Vancouver's up 1-0. That's also tomorrow.
They're going to be up more than 1-0 after tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, Vancouver's going to win the Canadian Championship again. I think they won it
Again.
last year too. Yeah.
They've won it the last two times.
Oh, man. How is it that Vancouver are consistently good at only one thing?
I don't know. It's like
Like,
their competition.
It
It's
is their
weird.
competition. I love it for them because I enjoy Vancouver, but man, can you guys put that consistency in like a different competition?
MLS Cup, maybe.
Literally any other competition?
Yeah. Okay, I think that's
Are
it for
y'all
me.
are y'all talked out?
Yeah,
Okay.
been talking all day.
Woo, man. Wipe the brows on that one. That was a long one. The long one. What did you want me to? Oh no, we played both music to start. Which one do you want me to play out as the outro?
Let's just do our normal one. I
Our
think we're
normal
on.
one. All right. All
Yeah.
right. Hold on.
Just to close us out though on Leagues Cup, I guess I'll say I did the math.
Mm-hmm.
44 matches in total between Liga MX and MLS. 18 wins for MLS, 15 draws, 11 wins for Liga MX. With using the draws aren't actually draws logic, MLS had 27 wins, Liga MX had 17 wins in Leagues Cup. So MLS dominated this go around.
Excellent. We love to see it.
So we do.
And there was a lot to see, Gavin. Tons of it. But all good things must come to an end. All tournaments must come to a conclusion. With that, Leagues Cup done. MLS is back. The nonsense is back. We're back to our regularly scheduled programming. We appreciate everyone who tuned in for the Leagues Cup episodes and will continue to tune in for our regular episodes between now and the end of the season. Whew. Well, I think that's just about it for us. Just a quick reminder, you can find Gavin on social media at LionsBlog1. You can find me on social media at Mr. Dangerous, and you can find the podcast on social media at MLS Now Podcast. Gavin, listeners, till next time.
Till next time.